Hello, my name's Vanessa Rose and I lead the subject of PSHE at Sythwood Primary School. There have been some changes to how we must teach PSHE and what we must include, and so this is just a short presentation explaining those changes and how we would like to do it at Sythwood School, and we'd really welcome your feedback. So, PSHE is a subject and it stands for Personal, Social, Health and Economic Education. It equips children with skills for life, and good PSHE coverage should cover subjects such as relationships and sex education, drugs education, always about staying safe, and this includes in real life but also online as well, financial capability, understanding and looking after your own emotional health and well-being, and healthy lifestyles. So really it's about looking after themselves, their feelings, how to have a healthy lifestyle, finances, friends and families, being safe. It's really important to stress that teaching is always age appropriate, because some of the titles of what PSHE covers, parents might think, oh, I'm not really sure that that's appropriate for the age that my child is at. However, it's always taught with age-appropriate language and content, with the goal to be to educate the children of how to look after themselves and how to keep themselves safe. At Sythwood, we've always valued PSHE, and we've always taught it alongside our relationships and sex education. Our school motto of be ready, be safe, be respectful, be your best runs through everything we do. And PSHE really does reflect this because it supports children how to be safe, it supports them how to be respectful, it supports them how to be the best that they can be. These are the skills that PSHE teaches. We think that PSHE empowers children to have a voice. It gives them knowledge, it gives them skills that they will use outside of school as well as inside of school. It enhances our lessons, it enhances the way that they relate to one another, how they interact with one another. And so even though it supports them with skills for life, we believe it also really supports their learning, their academic learning too. But PSHE is changing. When the government introduced the new curriculum, the new national curriculum in 2014, they recommended that schools should teach PSHE, but they didn't have to, and it was up to the schools to decide if they would. At Sythwood, we've always valued PSHE, and so we continue to teach PSHE as a structured curriculum, which incorporated sex and relationships. We taught it through using many different schemes of work throughout the school and for the different topics. And for the relationships and sex education parts, we would invite the Year 5 and Year 6 parents to meetings to show them what it was that we would cover. However, the government has now changed its position on PSHE learning. They recognise that it's important, and so it is now statutory. By law, we have got to teach relationships education and we've got to teach health education. Sex education is not statutory. We do not have to teach it, but the government does recommend that schools decide and plan and explain to parents how we will or will not teach this part of the curriculum. Whilst parents won't have the right to withdraw their children from the relationships and health education, you can withdraw your child from the sex education curriculum. So, the Department of Education has said this: today's children and young people are growing up in an increasingly complex world and living their lives seamlessly on and offline. This presents many positive and exciting opportunities, but also challenges and risks. In this environment, children and young people need to know how to be safe and healthy and how to manage their academic, personal and social lives in a positive way. In primary schools, we want the subjects to put in place the key building blocks of healthy, respectful relationships, focusing on family and friendships in all contexts, including online. This will sit alongside of how to be healthy. These subjects, relationships and health education, represent a huge opportunity to help our children and young people develop. The knowledge and attributes gained will support their own and others' well-being and attainment and help young people to become successful and happy adults who make meaningful contributions to society. So, relationships education, what is it? So, in primary schools, it's about recognising what positive relationships are, and it focuses both on day-to-day and online. Unlike perhaps when some of us, the children's parents, were growing up, online wasn't a way that you had relationships. However, in today's society, children need to understand how to have positive relationships online, but also on their day-to-day living. So, relationships education will focus on the features of healthy friendships, family relationships, and other relationships that they probably will have in their life. Children will be taught about positive emotional and mental well-being because positive relationships support this. The hope is that early understanding of the features of a relationship will support the children to develop relationships that make them feel happy and secure. Also, by knowing what a healthy relationship is, it will support them to recognise less positive or abusive relationships. They will be taught strategies to keep safe as possible, but also how to get help if something's wrong. And again, this covers day-to-day relationships and online relationships. There is a family focus within relationships education because that is what children at primary school, that's an important relationship that they all have and they all understand. It's part of their day-to-day life. At Sythwood School, we've got lots of different types of families, and the statutory guidance is that all families need to be represented when we're teaching. We respect that everyone's different and that family structures are different. Different people's views about their own families may be guided by religion or culture or their own personal belief or an experience of what family is to them. When learning about relationships, all children in our school community need to have their family structure recognised. There should be no stigmatisation or judgment of different family structures. And as a school, we should be a safe and nurturing place where everyone is valued. So when we come to teach about families, we will value all families, and children should feel safe to talk about their own family. The materials that we use in our scheme, they represent all different types of families too. So, relationships education must cover families and people who care for me, caring friendships, respectful relationships, online relationships, and being safe. If you'd like to see more detailed outcomes for this, there will be a page attached. Health education. So again, we must teach this. In primary school, the focus for health education is holistic, teaching about good physical health, but also good mental health. Again, the focus will be on day-to-day physical living, but also the impact that time online can have on the children's physical and mental well-being. As well as teaching about the benefits of looking after their bodies, exercise, good nutrition and sleep, the children are taught how to talk and manage their feelings. Whereas before, puberty was taught as part of relationships and sex education, learning about puberty and the changing adolescent body is now a statutory requirement, and that learning happens within health education. So, schools must teach mental well-being, internet safety and harms, physical health and fitness, healthy eating, drugs, alcohol and tobacco, basic first aid, and changing adolescent body. And again, I'd really like to stress that this is all done in an age-appropriate way. So sex education is not statutory at a primary school level. So we as a school have had to define what sex education is. So at Sythwood School, we are defining sex education as referring to human reproduction. And as parents, you have the right to withdraw your child from these lessons if you want to. We will clearly signify to you where these lessons are taking place, and actually it only affects children in years 4, 5 and 6. In these year groups, when it comes to the changing me topic, we will hold a meeting before the learning starts. We will give you the opportunity to have a look at all of the materials, and we will show you what the sex education lesson is. There is only one lesson in year 4, one lesson in year 5, and one lesson in year 6 that would be classified as a sex education lesson. In year 6, the school nurse supports our sex education lessons, and these materials would also be shared with you. And again, if you chose to, you could withdraw your child. So, to meet all of these statutory requirements, we have decided as a school that we are going to use, or we are using, the Jigsaw PSHE scheme of work. It's a mindful approach to PSHE. We really like it because it really focuses on the children's emotional well-being and regulation. It helps them to think about choices that they make. It gives them time they have calm down times in it where they practice a mindful approach. And what we also like about it is that all children, whether they're in reception or year 6, they're learning the same theme, the same aspect of PSHE at the same time. So in autumn term, they would all learn a PSHE topic, and in year 1, they would learn something. And then the next year, in year 2, it would be the same theme, the same PSHE topic again, except that they would learn a bit more because they're a bit older. And so every year, they're learning a bit more, they're adding to the learning that they did before. Jigsaw covers all of the statutory health and relationships education that we must teach your children. There is a heavy focus on these statutory outcomes in the units that are called Healthy Me, Relationships and Changing Me. However, other aspects of health and relationships are revisited in other units for continuity. In years 4, 5 and 6, it is in the Changing Me units that there is one lesson per year group that would be defined as sex education. So, within a PSHE lesson, there is the Jigsaw Charter, and these are, I suppose, what you might call the rules as to which we would have our PSHE lessons, and it is a code of conduct where the children are respectful to one another and positive. There is, at the beginning of each game, there is a connectors, and again, these are teaching skills into personal relationships, working together. There is the calm me time where mindfulness is practiced. And then the open my mind, tell me or show me and let me learn. That's where the main body of learning happens. And then the help me reflect is where the children reflect on their own learning. So here are the 6 units that the children would learn throughout the year, 1.5 term. So in the first half term, autumn half term, all children would be learning about being me in my world. And as you can see from this grid, it is a progression. So it's always age appropriate, and each year they are adding to their learning. The Healthy Me, Relationships and Changing Me come in the latter half of the year. And these are those for 4, 5 and 6. So in the Changing Me is where puberty, which is statutory, children have to learn about puberty and human, but it's also got the human reproduction, which is what we defined as our sex education. So as you can see in years 1, 2 and 3, there is no sex education at all. It's just learning about their bodies, learning correct words for their bodies, learning to keep private parts private. But then in years 4, 5 and 6, in the red are what we would define as sex education, and it's in these lessons that, should you choose to, you would be able to withdraw your child. For many aspects of PSHE, parents are the prime educators, and at Sythwood School we recognise that for the best outcomes for every child, we need to work in partnership with you, their parents, their carers, their families. Children may learn about something in PSHE, and then they might want to follow it up with you at home. They might have questions that they would want to ask you, or they might want to share some of their mindfulness or calming techniques that they've learned. So in this important area of learning of PSHE, we'd really like your feedback. Do you have any questions about how we are teaching things? Anything that's been mentioned in this presentation? There's going to be every year a parents meeting for Changing Me unit in years 4, 5 and 6, because it's here that you would need to opt to withdraw your child if you would like to from the sex education part. But what about the parents with children in years 1, 2 and 3? Would you also like to know and have those meetings in the Changing Me unit? Do you feel that there's something missing from our PSHE provision, or is there any further information that you would like? Now, due to copyright, and because we've had to do this meeting online rather than face-to-face because of COVID, we're not allowed to share materials online from our Jigsaw scheme. But we realise that you might want to see some of those materials just to get a further idea of how we teach this to your children. And so we're going to invite you to a Teams meeting, which you can sign up for on the website. It will be next to this presentation. And at that meeting, I will just be showing you some of the materials that we use within our Jigsaw teaching. If you have a question and you're able to submit it on the feedback form, which again is next to this presentation on the website, I might be able to answer those questions at the meeting, or I can get back to you personally. I will not be able to take, unfortunately, questions at the meeting, but again, should you come to that Teams meeting and then you think of something or you want to follow something up, again, you can contact me on the feedback form on the website. But please make contact before Friday the 16th of April, which is when this consultation will be finished. There's going to be a feedback form on the website. I hope that you found this interesting, and it would be great to see lots of you at the Teams meeting. Thank you.